The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
In the summer sun of Australia, they know how to have fun. Beautiful people, thrilling water sports, wide, white, sandy beaches. It's all here at Surfers Paradise. But most of all, they love to race. Here in Paradise, the Indy cars are ready to roar as the season begins. It was here a year ago that Nigel Mansell began his historic championship. But there are others ready to dispute Nigel's crown. Michael Andretti, who joins Chip Ganassi Racing after a disastrous year in Formula One. Paul Tracy led the most laps last year. Now, he wants the championship. Robbie Gordon was third here a year ago driving for A.J. Foyt. He's back with a new team, Derek Walker Racing. Scott Goodyear is now driving for Kenny Bernstein. As the team looks for wins, Scott seeks the PPG Cup. Little Al's a Penske driver now. That's where his dad and his uncle had their greatest success. The seniors are ready. Emerson Fittipaldi is hot. And Mario is starting his last lap. There's new equipment, too. A new chassis from Adrian Renard. And after a year's testing, a new Honda motor is ready for Rahal. Today, the eyes of the racing world are on Nigel Mansell as the season begins. Can he repeat the feats of last year? Will he still be in front at Road's End? The chase begins now. The Pacific Ocean crashes ashore on the eastern coast of Australia at Surfers Paradise, the site of round number 1 of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. Well, good on ya, as they say here in the land down under. I'm Paul Page, and we are ready to start the IndyCar season, and it should be incredible. Throughout the winter, they've been working on new cars, new engines, new machines, new driver and team combinations that points to one of the best seasons we have ever seen in IndyCar racing. Now, we've got so many great stories for you. Let's begin with Jack Arute.
Paul, 1 year ago, this man, Nigel Mansell, made his much-anticipated debut in IndyCar competition. From this same position, the pole position, he went on to win the race and 4 others on his way to his first IndyCar driving championship. But as they say to his fellow drivers, the honeymoon may be over. Witness this headline from a former IndyCar champion that was published just earlier this week here in Australia. Let's check in with my fellow pit announcer, Gary Gerald.
And Jack, while Mansell was dominating IndyCar competition a year ago, Michael Andretti was experiencing bitter disappointment in his foray into Formula One. From the middle of last season, however, he's been focused on his return to IndyCar, and here he is now, side by side with Mansell in the front row in a brand new Reynard chassis for Chip Ganassi. And look at this. Today's paper, this photo yesterday in qualifying. This is how badly Michael Andretti is trying to unseat Mansell's dominance. Paul?
Well, in that front row, Sam, you can just feel the tension.
Well, Nigel and Michael have been so closely linked for the last 18 months, it's hard to believe they have never actually raced against each other.
What about Michael? He has so much to prove here.
Well, I think a win today for Michael would mean a lot more than just winning another race. I think it would be a form of redemption or therapy after his very difficult season in Formula One last year. I can't believe they're about to go wheel to wheel into turn 1. This is very exciting.
Then there's some good news and bad news. Let's go back to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, consider Team Penske behind me. They came here this weekend anticipating a very good run, but during qualifying, they experienced some electrical problems where cars started to stall out, specifically with Paul Tracy, one of their top drivers. Add to this concern, they say they have cured the problem, they hope so, but add to this the fact that it's a 3-car team this year with former Indy 500 champion Al Unser Jr. Gary?
Of course, Junior drove in recent years for Rick Gallis, but like Danny Sullivan, they've gone their separate ways, and Gallis is now a 1-car team, and the man in the spotlight is a young Mexican driver, Adrian Fernandez. He's been one of the big stories of this weekend. He has qualified 4th fastest. He starts outside in row number 2. Paul?
Well, Bobby Unser, Adrian Fernandez is looking super.
Paul, he is one lucky man. He's driving for the Rick Gallis team this year, and they're down to a 1-car team. Doesn't have a lot of experience in kart racing or IndyCar racing. He's only got 6 races, including this one, but he's driving for a good team. He's got a new car, and he's good on this type of circuit.
What about the Penske team? Can they solve their problems?
The Penske team should have it solved, but by the same token, one of their problems is they're the super team for the year. The three top drivers, Fittipaldi, Tracy, and of course the addition of Little Al. Now, they've been having problems with the cars quitting over the chicanes, and the chicanes are having the curbs. The drivers go through, jump over the curbs. It's making the one car quit often. Hopefully that's cured, but there's one thing about the chicanes. There's 2 on the front straightaway, 2 on the back straightaway. Everybody should watch those today. There's going to be a lot of things happening there.
Well, in just the last few seconds, light rain showers moved through the area of Surfers Paradise, wetting down the track. The cars have moved to their individual pits, so they can elect an option of moving over to rain tires. There you can see Teo Fabi's car. The rest of the field now shod with their new tires and ready to move back into action. Robbie Gordon's car already being pushed back out into position. So we've dampened the start of this first race of the season, but it's only a very light shower and shouldn't have any real effect on the start of the race other than to delay it just a few minutes. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, while it may not actually affect the outcome of the race, it could in one respect. By putting on the rain tires and with the fact that the showers are passing through, the problem may occur that you'll not be able to run many laps with these rain tires, because in the dry they tend to tear themselves apart. So you're going to totally change your pit stop strategy, because if it continues to stay dry, they're going to have to come in much earlier than lap 17, which was the start of the pit stop window. Let's check with Gary Gerould.
And Jack, what that means is it could very easily be a 3-stop race as opposed to a 2-stop race. Now, they need some yellow time because of the fuel concerns they always have when they come to Australia. But right now, it's a brand new situation because they've moved out, they put the rain tires on, now they're moving them back onto their positions on pit road on the starting grid. And the irony of all of this, they hadn't had to have the rain tires on at any time this weekend in all the practice and the qualifying. And here at the start of the race, the first serious shower of the weekend, Paul.
Well, Gary, typical of Roger Penske's preparation, yesterday when they started practice sessions, the first thing they did was send their cars out with rain tires just to scrub them in case there might be a shower during the race itself. So now they'll have to put all the cars back into position and prepare for the start. We'll be back for the start of the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix right after these messages.
American Honda, who's been making quality cars in America for the past 11 years. Wendy's Spicy Chicken Filet Sandwich, go wild. And Target, where you can expect more and pay less.
Our Grand Prix showers have moved through the Surfers Paradise area, those drenching tropical showers that are so common here, and that's created some lengthy delays as the cars have moved from dry tires to wet tires to dry tires and now back to wets again. But the field is finally rolling. There is some standing water on the course, but generally it's only lightly damp. You can see it's not seriously damp in this portion of the course. So let's take a look at how they line up. For the start of the very first race of the season on the pole, it's Nigel Mansell, who made history here with his win last year, alongside Michael Andretti, who gave the new Renard a great starting position. In the second row, it's Emerson Fittipaldi. He won here 2 years ago. And Adrian Fernandez, the Indy Light standout. In the third row, Al Unser Jr., now in Penske colors, and his teammate Paul Tracy, who was quickest in the morning practice. In the fourth row, Mauricio Gugelmin from Formula One in his second IndyCar start, and rookie Jacques Villeneuve, the Formula Atlantic standout. The fifth row is Robbie Gordon and Jimmy Vasser. In row 6, Teo Fabi and Stefan Johansson. The seventh row, Mark Smith and Mike Groff, who out-qualified his teammate and car owner. In the eighth row is Arie Luyendyk, now with Regency Racing, and Bobby Rahal, the first race for his Honda-powered car. In the ninth row, Scott Goodyear and Scott Sharp, the two-time Trans Am champion. The 10th row, Mario Andretti and Raul Boesel. The 11th row, Alessandro Zampedri and Willie T. Ribbs. In the 12th row, Hiro Matsushita and Robbie Buell. The 13th row, Davy Jones, now driving for A.J. Foyt and Dominic Dobson. And alone starting in last position, Australian Gary Brabham. Now let's take a look at the course here at Surfers Paradise. The real key is how you come off of those corners leading to those long straightaways, because that's where the speed is developed. The backstretch here parallels the Pacific Ocean and the beach at Surfers. On the line here today, as we take a look at the race analysis, it's 2.795 miles around, 65 laps, or 181.675 miles an hour. Nigel Mansell set the race record here last year. So we're set and ready to go. I'm still very, very damp out there. And, of course, Nigel Mansell, as we're on board with him, has to be contemplating what it's going to be like to have Michael side by side in the rain as they go into those first corners. Let's go pit side, Jack Arute.
Well, under normal circumstances, rain tires are designed in such a way to route the water away and give a nice tread pattern. This is the normal way with the wheel turning this way. But Team Penske has found a little bit of a speed secret. What they've done is they've taken the rear tires and they've flip-flopped them. So now, instead of the water being routed this way, the water is coming this way. They say that it gives them just a little teeny bit of an advantage over the competition. They hope that it will give them that advantage, especially in what seems to be a drying condition. Gary?
Well, Jack, it's not only tires that get strategized, so to speak, here, because you gamble on the setup of the race car. If it's wet, you want to create more downforce. So many of the teams have had to gamble. Do you make a decision and you change one of these little wing angles here to get more force on the front of the car? You do the same on the rear wing. Or do you leave it gambling that it's going to be basically dry and that the setup that you had initially will prove to be the fastest setup? A lot of strategy being played out right now as we get ready for the green flag. Paul?
Well, they sat in these race cars in the rain for a very long time. It had to be very uncomfortable. What does that do to your mindset, Bobby?
Oh, it bothers them an awful lot, mainly because they've gone from dry to wet to dry to wet. They've seen the rain come and they've seen it go. And by now, that's really got a lot of their minds boggled. You see, some of the guys really don't want to run in the rain, Paul.
Well, Bobby, in the struggle for the lead into turn one, remember that both Nigel and Michael can't rely on whatever they had planned to do in the dry. And it's all the more critical to lead out of that first chicane, because with the spray coming off the tires, visibility for the second place man is not very good.
We get a view of all of the cars. There comes Jacques Villeneuve through, Arie Luyendyk. All new colors, new numbers. We'll try to help you with those as we go through this race.
Another thing to watch for that you'll see from a lot of the camera positions, because of the rain, you'll see where the cars normally run, and that leaves like what we call a groove. It'll be a little bit dry there. If you get out of that, it'll get very slippery.
Certain drivers specialize in racing in the rain. Three of them sit right in the first few positions there. Both Nigel and Michael in the front row are brilliant rain drivers, and so is Emerson Fittipaldi. In fact, he won this race 2 years back in a last-minute moment. We're riding now with Michael Andretti. He is a master of the rain. We're going to see what's going to happen in turn one very shortly.
I'll tell you what, though, I tend to bet on Emerson Fittipaldi when it comes to a rain race in the IndyCar. We have really not yet tested Nigel Mansell in the rain in an IndyCar.
Well, one big thing, too, of course, are the tactics of when you stop to remove the rain tires if it's a drying race. Fittipaldi can rely on the strategy of the Penske pit, always on top of that situation. Not that Mansell, with his Peter Gibbons and the Carl Haas brain trust in that pit, isn't in a good position, too.
All right, the field now comes through the final corner. You're on board with the pole sitter, Nigel Mansell. The very first green flag of the IndyCar season is lying just ahead and waiting. The two cars in the front row, the outside, Michael Andretti. As now the pace begins to pick up just a bit as they look for the green flag. And the yellow flag to start. No start. No start.
All right, but Nigel got the jump, which is interesting.
It was too much of a jump. He doesn't, well, you know, it's so important to lead the first turn because of what you said, Sam, the rain coming up from the other car. And he out-jumped Michael. He didn't give Michael a free run at it. Plus, he pushed him almost into the wall.
Well, Boycell, a whole group that started in the, this is too good. Nobody's hurt there, but
5 cars.
What a way to start the beginning of the season. The course marshals all come in to check and make sure everyone is okay.
Boycell, of course, in the orange and black car up against the wall.
Willie T. Ribbs in the 24 car. Alessandro Zampredi in the 50 car.
Boy, they just all went right in like an LA traffic jam.
That's Robbie
Looks
Buell
like Robbie
back there as
Buell.
well, yeah.
We'll have a look at it here. Look at the top of your screen in there. That's where the trouble starts.
So it looks like Zampredi got into the side of Raul Boesel as they came off of the corner and set off a chain reaction accident. And that, by the way, why the yellow came out, not for an improper start, but because this accident was occurring in the final turn as the field was streaming toward the green flag. So the race is under full course yellow with just one lap being worked at this time. Nigel Mansell will be scored in the lead position because he started on the pole. We're still under a full course caution here at Surfers Paradise, Australia, and it gives us a chance to look at another story making news in the IndyCars during the past week. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway issued a press release saying that there is the possibility they will create a whole new IndyCar series within the next 2 years. The Speedway president, Tony George, indicates he is dissatisfied with the current course of IndyCar racing. All other details will come out after this year's Indianapolis 500.
Well, I don't know that it'll actually be new in that, it'll be totally different from what we have today. But I think, obviously, I have some strong feelings that I would like one last chance at trying to impress upon the kart organization, see if we can't, go forward together. But in the event that's not possible, then maybe an entirely new series with more of an American flavor would be the result.
From IndyCar's point of view, it wasn't entirely a surprise. Certainly over the last few months, and indeed last couple of years, there has been a growing gap, if you like, in the philosophy between ourselves and the philosophy of the Speedway. So from our point of view, while we're perhaps surprised by the timing of the announcement, the direction and the content of the announcement was something which perhaps we'd already anticipated.
The IndyCar owners declined comment on the Speedway's press release. But IndyCar president and chief executive officer Andrew Craig says he hopes to schedule a meeting with Tony George soon.
My intention is to meet with Tony at the earliest possible stage to discuss with him what the issues are, what his concerns are. And I know he has very sincerely held views on this issue. To meet with him and to see if we can find common ground between the parties.
Well, I think it's been said before. I think we just need to talking about expanding internationally and everything. And I think you would want to expand with a grassroots program, something that you can be proud of exporting. I mean, I think oval racing is considered, Americana, and that's what we should, in my opinion, be trying to perfect and then export.
Whatever the outcome, it could drastically affect what we know as IndyCar racing in the future, so we'll keep track of this story. Now, after another lengthy delay, the cars are rolling again. All those involved in the accident were able to get going again. You can see the circuit has dried, but you can also see on Mansell's car there that there's rain tires. So the expectation is that they will start, do a lap, and then everyone will head into the pits. But Michael's rolling well out in front.
Well, he certainly is. He wasn't going to let Nigel jump him like he did the last time. He's getting ready for it. And then Nigel, of all things, has slowed way down almost to the point of making Michael wonder what's happening.
At the head of the pit straight, the field comes down again. Johnny Rutherford drives the pace car, pulls it for the pit area. Now, once again, we are ready for the first green flag of the season. They're well bunched up behind him, almost uncomfortably close. Green flag is out.
Incredibly volatile situation headed into turn one on these rain tires on a dry track. Very tricky stuff.
Well, Sam, it won't be bad while they don't have them all hot and broke in yet. They'll be real good right now for the first lap.
Boy, if they get through there with no contact, I'll be amazed. I think we saw some just before we changed pictures anyway.
Round two.
Nigel Mansell comes out in front, and yep, they've jammed it up again. Almost the same group. And they've got the course blocked, and that's probably going to mean a red flag.
Paul, I think all the tension that we've had all day from all the delays, it just got everybody up too tight. They're just all trying too hard.
Right now, we're back on a full course yellow. Look at this. Paul Tracy into the barrier. First lap, first race.
They almost got hit by some of the cars coming by. Notice Adrian Fernandez got out and almost touched him there.
Full course yellow is out. They'll acknowledge that when they get back to the start-finish line again. See Michael sitting out in front there. He got past Nigel Mansell. Now you're looking backwards from Michael's car. He apparently got past him just before the full course yellow came out. So let's take a look at Bobby Rahall's car. See the nose of Bobby Rahall's car. And Rahal got the barrier as well.
On his own from the look of it.
And now the field comes into the pits just as anticipated. Now we're under a full course yellow. They will no doubt all come over to dry tires. What a confusing start of this, the first race of the year. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
Michael Andretti's crew for Chip Ganassi getting their first true pit stop competition of the year. They're making a change to the dry. No speed. Now he's out of here, Paul. We got him in just 12 seconds. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Nigel Mansell had to light up the tires, and he almost stalled the car, Gary, as he completed his 4-tire change. He is on slicks also.
Michael has come down into the first chicane area, which just follows the pits. That's where the accident involving the two cars that you see there occurred. There's Bosel's yellow and black car.
Raul's out of that car.
He's out of that. Here's another look.
Then Pedro up on the grass on the inside as he gets into Bosel. It kicks Mario sideways. Robbie Buell comes around the outside. Davy Jones gets in there.
In the black car up against the wall.
The
Davy
culprit
Jones.
of that whole thing was Pedro. He just went in there too fast, and he could see nobody was going to be able to get out of the way, and he just started knocking one, and one knocks the other one. It's like a bowling alley after a while.
Well, that's the tricky thing about driving on wet tires on dry pavement. You just don't have the grip you expect. That's a look at Hero's car.
Paul Tracy still sitting on the course, hoping that he will get some sort of toe in.
He's got an engine down. Obviously, he killed the engine, couldn't get the clutch in, and that's what Davy Jones is raising Keen about there. He wants somebody to give him a push so he can get the engine lit up.
This has been a terrible weekend for Davy Jones. 2 crashes.
There's Tracy telling somebody, come on, give me a push, because he needs his engine started, because if they come back around on him, he's going to start going down a lap, and that's really going to hurt.
Confusion. It looks like they pushed the rear wing off of Hero's car. Tracy still sits by the edge of the course, and there's nobody there to help him.
This was the trademark of Paul Tracy's year last year. Crashes and trouble. It kept him from winning the championship, even though he won as many races as Nigel Mansell did. His history repeating itself.
And even if they get him running, Sam, it looks like the right front wing has been on Tracy's car. I noticed that up against the tire. So that'll mean another pit stop for him, even if they get him going.
Well, you talk about confusion. Well, Michael will lead the field back when they finally are able to lead them back, followed by Mansell, Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Stefan Johansson, Robbie Gordon, then Jimmy Vasser, Teo Fabi, Ari Luyendyk, and Mario Andretti. That rounds off the top 10.
There's Mark Smith. That's one of the new paint jobs for this year.
Finally, Paul Tracy gets a little help. Let's get an update. Here's Jack.
Gary Gerould was talking about some of the problems with Michael Andretti coming in and taking on slicks. Listen to this problem for Team Penske. Here is the front nose piece off of Al Unser Jr.'s car. When they came in, they took on slicks, and they also had to change the front nose piece. They accomplished all of that. In just the amount of time that it took to change 4 tires.
They're still trying to get Paul Tracy rolling on the circuit, and they do have to be careful. That wing will take a lot of pushing, but it's not really designed to be pushed from the back. Boy, look at him light it up. Tracy went back into the fight.
But he also doesn't have a bent right front wing.
All right, this was Michael's move on Nigel during that accident on the first lap.
Wow. Nigel.
Right by the outside of him.
When you think
fine
what
by
this,
now, he's on the curb.
Bobby, think what this means for the season. Nigel was passed how many times last year? Not very often.
Well, Sammy was passed on the outside. That's what was really a good pass.
So Paul Tracy tries to catch up with the rest of the field so that he can get back into the fight, while Michael Andretti has the lead on a very confused and heavily delayed start here at Surfers Paradise. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Surfers Paradise at the Marriott Hotel have spent $8 million on what they call an aquatic playground. It's magnificent. Did some diving there. It's a gigantic pool all around, a man-made beach. It's just unbelievable. Most of the drivers and some of the TV people have stayed at this hotel just a couple of 100 feet off of one of the turns here on the track. Now, we're ready to go once again under full course yellow still at the moment. Mario Andretti will lead it. On the pit stops, Emerson Fittipaldi moved into second place, and Nigel Mansell is third. Out of the race, Raul Boesel and Bobby Rahal, who's with Jack Arute.
Well, Bobby Rahal, it's not the way you wanted 1994 to start. What happened?
Just is chaos down there, and I think I just got a little bit of a nudge into somebody, and I broke the wing off, and we got these wires that hold the wing up because they're flexing, and unfortunately things, I broke the wing, but the wing got stuck under the tire, and I go into the next corner, turn right, and it went straight. So it's unfortunately the car's bent suspension. That's that.
Now the pressure goes on your teammate Mike Groff to try and race-proof this Honda engine.
Oh, I think it's race proven. I'll be cheering for him. I saw he must have had a problem too because he's back. It was just everybody doesn't remember that you got to get through the first corner, I guess.
Paul?
Yeah, Bobby's right. A very confusing start. And I think a lot of people anxious with the long delays here and the fact that it is the first race of the season. So now Michael leads them back. Fittipaldi, followed by Mansell, followed by Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. As we're back racing once again. Single file this time. Should be a little safer going into the first chicane. Fittipaldi closes in. Robbie Gordon begins to attack at the back of Mansell. You're on board with Mansell. That's Fittipaldi and Michael just ahead.
You notice on the start that Michael really tried to get a jump on him. He realizes that if they can't get away and get past the start of this race, they're not going to have a very long race. So he tried extra hard and he made it.
Number 9 car, that's Robbie Gordon. New team, Derek Walker Racing this year.
Gordon finished third here last year for A.J. Foyt, and he's really pushing hard, but he's had gearbox trouble all weekend, and they've got a part in that gearbox they're worried about.
Gordon comes up to do battle with Nigel Mansell, moves to the inside. Can he outbreak him? He gets the job done, and Robbie Gordon gets past Mansell. Mansell to fourth.
Nigel Mansell has dropped 3 places from the top of the grid to 4th place in just 3 racing laps.
That looks like one of the passes that Robbie Gordon did on Nigel Mansell that Mansell did last year, right at the same racetrack in the same place. Really a good pass, shows a lot of talent.
Now Robbie Gordon is at the back of Fittipaldi. Michael runs alone. Here's that pass once again. Look at Gordon. Mansell very wisely, first of all, starts to turn in, then decides he's going to radius just outside him.
And keep in mind, Mansell, it looks like he doesn't seem till kind of late, but you got to remember, the helmets don't have good side visibility on him. He started to turn in, saw him, and straightened it out real quick. Shows that Mansell's pretty sharp, too.
First 4 run together. Gordon's broken it off for the moment in his battle with Fittipaldi. On board with Robbie Gordon now.
Gordon had a very big crash in testing at Phoenix, and it's only in the last few days that he's really been feeling well. He went out horseback riding, got thrown off the horse as it roared through the underbrush, but he seems to be okay now.
Into the record book, a 65-lap race here in Australia as Robbie Gordon continues to chase down Emerson Fittipaldi just ahead.
The angry clouds you see sit out over the Pacific on the eastern side of the track. They're headed north here now.
Robbie Gordon is adapted to this racetrack very well. That's him right there in the Cummins car, the Valvoline. And he just really does well at this track. I don't know why he shines here so much better, but last year he was absolutely second only to Nigel Mansell.
Boy, look at him come up over the curbs now. They've been cautioned that they're not to get too far over those curbs. And of course, there was that spectacular photograph of Michael during qualifying yesterday where he went airborne over one of those curbs. You're looking back from Michael's car now.
This is the tight, twisty section at the north end of the track. You stand out there as a spectator, and of course it's a full house here today. The cars sound just terrific with the exhaust echoing off those tall buildings.
That's Emerson Fittipaldi behind Michael, and you can see how much difference it gets in the straightaways, but watch how close it gets in the corner. Makes it look like Michael's running away, but he really isn't that far.
Michael is running with a Ford engine, Emerson with an Ilmor, and Emerson said yesterday he felt the Ilmor might be a little bit down on torque.
Well, it's good old horsepower. It's a new engine. The Ilmor engine's new this year, another new model of it, and they just don't have it putting out quite what the Fords do right now, Sam.
But the design line is what last year we knew as the Chevrolet.
Absolutely right.
The astonishing thing here, Nigel Mansell running in fourth after not only having the pole position, but having dominated all of the practice and qualifying sessions, apparently with ease.
And look how far this first group of four has separated from the rest of the field. You can barely see anybody else back there. Michael seems to use these curbs. There he's done it again. He told me after that spectacular leap of the curbs in practice that when he was in the air, he thought the car was going to come totally apart when it got on the ground, but it hit and everything seemed fine, so he kept going.
Let's not miss the historical significance of the fact that a Reynard, a new car for this series, is leading right off the bat here.
Allenser Jr. into the pits. Here's Gary.
And they came in and immediately shut off the motor, Paul. They've taken off the rear body work. There's an indication that maybe they'd lost oil pressure. They work with the electronics in the right side pod. What a disappointing start as Allenser Jr. comes to the Penske Super Team this year, but has immediately encountered early problems. Paul?
Gary, is there any chance that this is the same electrical problem that the Penske cars have had in practice?
Certainly, that's one of the first things that would come to mind as they work on the electronics in the right side pod, where we don't have any confirmation of that.
All right, so what could be an engineering problem on the car as Michael continues to lead here at Surfers? He has led from the very first lap, and we are now in the 8th lap with Emerson Fittipaldi running in second, Robbie Gordon in third, and Nigel Mansell is fourth, followed by Teo Fabi. We'll be back. ABC Sports, it's on to Key Biscayne for one of the premier events in tennis as Agassi meets Sampras in the men's final of the Lipton Championships. That's next here on ABC Sports. And here in Australia, Michael Andretti continues his lead. He's led from the start. 2 cars out of the race thus far, Bobby Rahal and Raul Boesel. Fittipaldi chases in second, then Robbie Gordon, then Nigel Mansell. And now Mauricio Gugelmin has moved into 5th place. In 6th place is Teo Fabi, then Jimmy Vasser. Then Adrian Fernandez in 8th, followed by Mario Andretti and Willie T. Ribbs.
If you watch, there's Michael on board with Michael right there, Paul. If you watch when he comes through the chicanes, he's running all the way to the grass now. Now, when watching some of the other cars, they're probably running halfway up the curves. He's running all the way to the grass. Now, the problem in the long run, you see right there, he almost gets to the cones there. It could be bad on the car. You know, yesterday he hopped that thing pretty good. I don't know how long it'll take that.
Let's get another update on Allenser Jr., Gary.
Paul, it wasn't a problem with oil pressure. That read okay. It is electronics. They changed one of the control module units. It didn't do the job. He's come back in now and sits here getting further attended. Jack?
Well, there's a problem also on Team Penske's other car with Paul Tracy. They're working on the front nose cone area. They are going to replace the entire nose cone, and they are having an inordinate amount of difficulty disengaging the nose cone that's on the car. They finally get it away, Paul, and it has been damaged, and now they're going to try and bring the new nose cone in. The right front wing was smashed up on Paul Tracy's car.
Well, it didn't look like it was during that wreck, and I called it wasn't, but I guess it did get a little damage. These things are carbon fiber, and they don't bend. They just get totally cattywampus if you hit.
We're on board Scott Goodyear now. New team for him, Kenny Bernstein's team. He runs in 15th right now. That's Mark Smith just ahead, and just behind him is Jacques Villeneuve.
He's a couple of places up from where he qualified, but it has not been an exception. exceptional weekend for Scott Goodyear, who, of course, is looking for a lot from this new team. Winner of the Michigan 500 a couple of years ago, out of luck last year. New team, new hopes.
Coming up to the front, here is Robbie Gordon. Yellow flags fly in this corner, so there's no passing here as Nigel Mansell is beginning to pursue Gordon very closely.
Now, right there is where Mansell got passed by Gordon just a few laps back. And Mansell, if you notice, he was on the right-hand side. What he's trying to do is bait Gordon, get him to move out, and then he would have tried to outbrake him going into the turn there, Paul.
I was just going to say, Mansell is capable of all sorts of cat and mouse. The one thing he cannot do is let Michael Andretti, with a clear track, pull too far away. Right
Remember,
now,
Sam, that Robbie Gordon is one stubborn young man. He's not going to be badgered by Nigel Mansell. He just isn't the type of driver that's going to worry about anybody.
In many ways, they're similar personalities. Nigel loves to play and bait and pull it when he's in the car, out of the car, especially on the golf course. Robbie Gordon is very much like that, too.
yeah, they're very physical. They're both very tough-minded. The big difference, of course, is age. Nigel Mansell, over 40. Robbie Gordon, very young, with a huge career ahead of him.
If you now watch Robbie Gordon right in front there of Nigel Mansell, he's hardly touching the curve. Now, I've been noticing this as we go along. Just barely gets into the curve. Now, that's good. That's totally the opposite of what we've seen Michael doing. Michael is using all the curve, getting clear to the grass. On the on-board camera here, you can really see this good.
Michael has made a deliberate decision to go over the curves, obviously. Gordon and Nigel are taking it a little bit more cautiously.
They've just given the black flag to Adrian Fernandez. He was running 8th at the time in his ride for Rick Gallis Racing. This black flag was because he jumped over one of these chicanes and got too far into the grass area, and so they brought him in. They'll stop and go him. That'll be his penalty. He'll be back into the fight. Look at Mansell now as they begin to come into traffic. That's Robbie Buell just ahead of Robbie Gordon.
Just how much is too much is a tricky question where it comes to jumping these curves. There's Mansell inside of Buell. Luckily, Buell saw him just in time. No contact.
Robbie Buell was running in 19th. Now they're around him. No passing here. It looks like Gary Brabham sitting by the edge of the race course, the lone Australian entrant in this race.
The crowd was really pulling for Brabham. That's too bad.
His father, the great world champion Sir Jack Brabham, is here in a crowd that is sold out. The nice thing about this circuit is you can walk around and watch the racing from almost any point on the circuit. It's a great temporary facility. Well, Michael Andretti runs all alone. He's 5.5 seconds ahead of second place Emerson Fittipaldi. This is the closest fight on the circuit right now as Nigel Mansell tries to catch up to Robbie Gordon.
And watch his tires when he goes over the curves there in the chicanes when we get to another one here. You can tell how much feedback the driver gets to a steering wheel by that.
Whoa. Look at Mansell as he tries to get inside Gordon. Now they're in drag racing mode. Mansell puts his nose ahead. He got off the corner just a little bit better. Now it's a simple matter of who has the most daring as they head down into the next corner, a left-hander. And Mansell gets into the corner as Gordon cooks the brakes. So Mansell comes forward. Now to third place.
Really wasn't any place for Robbie to go. Once Mansell was underneath him, the fight was over as long as he didn't lose the race down the straightaway, Paul.
13 laps complete now. Michael Andretti has been turning the fastest laps at 102.6 miles an hour. That's the fastest lap of the race. Of course, Michael, for most of the race, has been running in clear traffic. He has been the leader for the entire 13 laps of this 65-lap scheduled distance. We'll be back. Yacht around, you can bet he'll be on it. He took some time off here at Surfers for an opportunity to go for big game fishing. In fact, they just had a world record white shark caught just off the shore here. Now, Mansell's looking for that. Well, they've got something on the hook. He gives it over to his wife, and it's, oh, look at that enormous thing. Whoa. Only probably paid about $900 for that little deep sea fishing episode.
How much that cost a pound?
He's reeling in someone else right now, and in this case, it's Emerson Fittipaldi.
Somebody reeled him in. Now let's take a look at the pass when Nigel Mansell got around Gordon, ducked to the inside. Now look at this. They say wheel to wheel all the way down this straightaway.
They were trying to fake each other out, if you notice. They were kind of going together and coming apart. That's Nigel telling him he's there. Gordon trying to fake him out so he doesn't keep going ahead like that.
Nigel's now tired of waiting, and he's attacking at the back of Fittipaldi.
Nigel has never defended a championship yet. The World Championship, here he comes, taking a look at Emerson on both sides, making the move down on the inside.
Nigel Mansell comes around Fittipaldi. Spectacular piece of braking, almost a trademark piece of braking for Mansell, and he moves into second place.
I think Emerson's in trouble. That was too easy. I see Emerson waving there for a second. Maybe he just tore one of his visors off.
He might be in trouble, Sam, but this is the way Mansell passes. He's very famous, like Paul said, for doing that. You watch Emma go to the right. Now Mansell just doesn't brake. He brakes very late, which is what he's really known for being able to do. By Emma, and that was an easy pass. But all because he set it up good.
Mansell will defy everything that they used to teach in the race driving schools and be standing on the brakes all the way through the corner.
There's another replay coming out. There he goes on the inside. There's nothing Emma can do. Once he's there a little bit, he can't come down on Mansell. Emma doesn't know how slow he's going to go. It was just an easy pass.
Very clean passing, though, by everybody.
So Nigel sets his sights on Michael Andretti, just 7 seconds ahead. Let's give you the running order again. It's Michael, followed by Mansell now, then Fittipaldi. Fourth is Robbie Gordon. Mauricio Gugelmin is still running in fifth. Jimmy Vasser is in sixth place. Good run for Jimmy. Seventh place is Teo Fabi, then Mario Andretti. Willie T. Ribbs is in ninth place. Alessandro Zampredi runs in 10th, followed by Scott Sharp, Stefan Johansson, Mark Smith, Jacques Villeneuve in 14th, Scott Goodyear in 15th, followed by Adrian Fernandez and Mike Groff. Those are all cars on the lead lap through 17th position.
Now let's keep in mind there's Michael Andretti right there in the red car. Now he's getting radio signals. Mansell is on the move. Uh-oh.
Looks like Robbie Gordon against the wall. A bit of a fire burning. That's just an oil fire, and it should go out. He caught the wall good and came spinning backwards. You can see the track as he got into the wall.
Heavy damage to that car. Now there's it.
That's the way to get out of the track. Now let's take a look. We're on board.
It's one of the chicanes.
Now it would appear by looking at that the chicanes got him. He got up on one, got it loose. The car breaks loose, comes right around. The wall is the next place you hit, especially on tracks like this. Cement on both sides. Not much room to be sliding off.
He didn't seem all that high on the curve, though.
No, he did not.
That's surprising.
You wonder if going over the curves triggered a mechanical problem of some kind. That's the fear. If you run the curves consistently, you can have tire or suspension problems.
Well, what happens very often, Sam, is you get the rear tire spinning too much.
Take a look at that again. There's the curve once. There it is twice. And after he got off on the left side, but he didn't seem that high on it.
No, he really didn't. In fact, I'm more inclined to think that maybe something did break on the car. Could be caution jumping the curb, but it looked like something broke on the car because he spun it going kind of straight.
It looked more to me like a tire failure or some other failure going into the chicane.
It is terrific to see Michael Andretti back at what he does best after this difficult year he had in Formula One last year. Here he resumes in IndyCar racing right where he left off as a major contender leading the race. Mansell, however, has caught him by a full second in just about a lap and a half of racing since Mansell took over second place. So we've got a real battle here.
Now keep in mind, Michael's probably been loafing just a little bit, not a whole bunch, but just a little bit, because for a while Mansell was falling behind, but now he's pulling up and he'll get the signal by the radio.
There you see the distance, first to second. It's 6.6 seconds. Jacques Villeneuve cuts the chicane, but doesn't gain anything in it, so they should allow that. Let's go pit side, Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, we were supposing that maybe there was an electrical problem on Al Unser Jr.'s car. He's still out there. The report is the team thinks it may be one of 4 black boxes that are on board. I talked to Richard Buck, and he said, we made the change so far. The car is working all right, but they have called in the Ilmor engineers, and they are looking at the existing black boxes that they have. They say, if we get a full course yellow, we're going to make another change.
So they're still fighting some problems there, Bobby.
Yes, and of course some of the reason for that is that they have another race or other races coming up right after this. So they're going to have to use this a little bit as a learn situation.
All right, here's Gordon's accident. That's not telling us that much more about the situation.
Except it shows the severity of the impact.
It'd probably be an oil tank or a catch tank that when he got the back end into the wall splattered against the hot headers, it burns out quickly. But it is spectacular. So we still don't know what put Robbie Gordon into the wall.
But it certainly didn't look like it was his fault.
Full course yellow now. Once again, a full course yellow.
Well, this, of course, will see them close up as they remove Gordon's car from a truly dangerous position on the track. Not much choice there.
And the 5-second advantage that Michael Andretti gained will be gone.
It will be gone, and we might be starting to look at pit stops. I know some of the crews are getting ready for pits now.
Michael Andretti heads down the pit lane under this full course yellow, which comes on lap 18, and Gary Gerould is there.
And we were looking around the corner. We see the nose of the car come in. He hits the marks. Now, what he wants to do is obviously protect that lead. The 5 seconds will be gone as they'll bunch up under the yellow, but it's imperative that he beats Mansell out. He's making the change. Let's go to Jack, and Mike was out of here.
Well, Gary, Nigel Mansell continues the work on his car. It's a little bit of a lengthy pit stop. They've changed 4 tires, and he is off and away as well.
So under the full course yellow, Michael did get back out ahead of Nigel Mansell, so the positions should remain the same. As taking advantage of this full course yellow, they came in at lap 19. 65 laps, the scheduled distance here. So the race continues in Australia. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Australian Grand Prix, brought to you by Craftsman, a line of 1,600 hand tools made in America, guaranteed forever, only at Sears. Budweiser, Beechwood Age for a crisp, clean, classic taste. Haviland Formula 3 motor oil, add more life to your car. And the all-new Ford Mustang, it is what it was and more.
We're back, still under full course yellow. Michael Andretti leads the field around. Next Saturday, beginning at 3 o'clock 2 Central here on ABC Sports, the Pro Bowlers Tour rolls into New England with the Tums Classic, followed by golf's first major of the year, as the LPGA honors the memory of a special friend from California. It's the Nabisco Dinah Shore, all Saturday here on ABC Sports. Now, after the full course yellow came out, in an unusual situation, that's Mark Smith in the Craftsman car. Look at the right front lock up and take him right into the wall. And then he comes off the wall into Zampedri.
He just had too much brake on the front of that thing, the front tire. You can even see the worn out spot on the tire where he flat spotted it, Paul.
Mario Andretti has announced that this will be his last year in IndyCar racing. Now, Sam Posey has followed his career from the start, and now he has an opportunity to look back at that marvelous career of the great Mario Andretti.
As Mario Andretti says farewell to IndyCar racing, we look back more than 30 years to the young Mario here with his brother Aldo, or driving a sprint car, and realize that he was special from the beginning, a driver with great skill and even greater passion. A rookie at Indy in 1965, he showed respect for its traditions but seemed oblivious to its dangers. When he won the pole in his second year, Indy fans had a new hero. The passion drove him into every form of the sport, to stock cars, where he won the Daytona 500, and to sports cars, where he also won. On just his 4th try, he would win Indy. But this moment, which seemed would be the first of many, has come only once. He has not seen this sign again. Mario is a man touched by fate. He became world champion on the day his teammate was killed. He would win 52 IndyCar races, but only 1 Indy. He would grow older and fiercer. As Mario hangs it up, we lose a man who has loved his sport and who has shared that love with us.
The fans, as important as they've been throughout my career, the only thing I can say is a big thank you.
This could be the saddest stars I've ever seen. Turn to miracle. My mind is racing. So all is well. My hands tired, my heart aches.
Mario Andretti at the Gala banquet the other night here in Surfers, and he got a standing ovation of about 3 minutes in duration. Great Mario Andretti. Robbie Gordon, of course, involved in that incident earlier. Let's get an update on that situation.
Well, Paul, it looks as if the chicane took another customer today. Robbie, you got bit by it.
Yeah, I don't know if we broke a suspension part when we clipped it on the right-hand side or not, but as soon as it flattened back out again, the car just spun around backwards. You know, I did clip the chicane, but that's the first time it's ever reacted like that.
Well, let's check in with Gary Gerald. He's got some news as well, Paul.
Well, one of the major concerns, obviously, with all the delays is will there be enough daylight? Compounded, of course, by heavy overcast and clouds, the sun going in and out. Billy Camphausen is one of the lead officials for IndyCar, and he's on the radio right now. We're going to try to get a quick word with him about whether or not that's being discussed. We know that the teams are talking about that. Billy, is there a danger of this race having to be shortened because of lack of light?
Repeat that question.
Is there a danger of this race being shortened because of a lack of daylight?
We're paying attention to the weather. We're dialing up. I don't know where we stand right now, but that is always a consideration.
Okay, so that's being talked about in race control at this time.
I just got off the telephone with race control at this time.
Okay, well, what this may do, of course, is greatly impact the strategy in the remaining laps. We know that Mansell's been talking to his crew specifically about this. So we play out a new bit of suspense as we get ready for the green, Paul.
And Billy went back for the telephone there. You can see the shadows are getting very long here. And as is typical in the tropics, when the sun drops over the horizon, it gets dark rather quickly. Look at this. As they were getting ready to come off the corner, Mansell loses it. Now, it has been raining in several sections of the race course. They have gone green, despite the fact that Nigel's sitting here. He went back out on dry tires. Many of the teams came in and went over to the wet rain tires. So Michael Andretti, who could have been challenged by Nigel in that restart, is all alone once again.
Paul, I think all of them should have come in. You watch Michael be sliding all around. Right there. Kaboom, and they took the tires with him.
But I don't think he hurt the car.
Looks like he didn't bend the car. The problem is you can't run a wet racetrack. Look at Emil back there. You can't do that. The guy should have known. The problem is that everybody does what the leader does. Michael was the leader. He didn't come in, so Nigel didn't come in. But look at the problems they're in.
And the tires are still out in the course for where Michael got into him and pulled him out. There's still some debris back there. I don't see any obvious problems on Michael's car.
No, there is. I don't think there's any problems with it, but we're going to see more action because you can't run cars with dry tires on a wet racetrack without problems like this.
And now Mario Andretti comes up to pull alongside Teo Fabi as they go full course yellow again. Mario got the first pass done. He was not past Fittipaldi by the time the yellow came out. And we've got another car in trouble, Mike Roth. So even though it doesn't appear to be very slick out there, it obviously is.
Just so everybody knows, it would be like driving on ice. So those folks that have been in that bad winter we've had this year, it's just like driving on ice.
Bad winter in Albuquerque?
No, I don't mean Albuquerque. I said to those folks. New York, Wisconsin, all the East Coast.
I see.
An incredible surge to the front by Mario Andretti. He played this beautifully. Here's Mansell.
Listen to him as he's trying to talk them into getting him around quickly.
You know, it's so disgusting to be able to sit there like that, and you know the time is just going away. Look at him. And there's really nothing you can do because you can't even talk to the guys that are pushing you. Now,
this is what got him there.
Here's Nigel coming around. He breaks loose. Now, once he's broken loose, you have no more traction. And it just continues going around. What almost happened, though, is when he came around like this, now the rear tires are locked up, going backwards there. Now he almost hit the wall. Boy, that's what could have been bad.
Decision time for Fittipaldi, too. How'd you like to have Nigel's car filling up your front windscreen?
And, you know, Emerson didn't dare hit his brakes because he would have locked up and for sure hit Mansell then.
Now, here's Michael just a few seconds thereafter. Jumps the curb on the inside, loses the back end. Fortunately, there were tire barriers there. This is what it looked on board. How it looked on board, Bobby.
Yes, here he is going into the chicane. He gets up on the curb, which really hurt him. He gets sideways. We can't see the tires he collected, but look at it. It was just like running into a balloon. It just slowed him down, caught him, straightened him out.
Nigel's onboard camera while he chased Michael.
Now he's going sideways. You can see it there twerking a little bit, tweaking. And here he comes around. Now he starts going backwards. There just is no traction. Another thing about this, when you're running dry tires on a wet pavement, where the cars have been laying rubber down before is the place where it's the slippriest. Like, for example, water is the best lubricant in the world for rubber. So it really makes it bad when you go across where the normal groove used to be.
And remember, these cars have upward of 750 horsepower. So no matter how careful you are when you're trying to feed the power on, as Nigel was coming out of that turn, with the turbochargers, it can be very hard to get it smooth enough to avoid the wheel spin.
What happens, Sam, is they have a great big giant butterfly, and when you open it just a little bit, you get like 30% instead of 10% of power.
You saw dark skies out over the Pacific as Johnny Rutherford, driving the pace car, seems to be getting as much time on the circuit as Michael Andretti, the current leader of the race. Back at the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix as we come back to the green flag. Michael Andretti leads the field in, and right behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi, followed by Mario Andretti. We're green again.
Now, Paul, the track has really dried it off a lot since just before we went yellow and had all the crashes. The track is getting dry and wet and dry back again so fast you can't believe it. You can see Michael's going through there without any problems, no slipping or sliding. That's just how much better it got just during the last yellow.
Look how racy Mario Andretti's gotten, though, as he comes up to challenge Emerson Fittipaldi.
It's a terrific tonic for Mario to know that his superstar teammate Nigel Mansell made a mistake in his way back, working his way through the pack.
As Mansell's sitting back in 14th position now, you can see the shadows are very long here. In fact, in some areas, the street lamps with automatic lights have already turned on. So these shadows are lengthening very quickly.
Not only that, it's cloudy too, cloudy and dark. You know, just so everybody knows, I just want to mention, Paul, that Michael Andretti, Nigel Mansell, none of those guys came in to change tires. And the reason being is the race could be called official when it's halfway over. And they were hoping that, and some of this racing is a gamble, that the rain would just go away, and it has so far.
And we're only about 4 laps away from the halfway point. A pleasant surprise up here in the front of the order. Currently runs in 4th place behind Mario Andretti, and that's Jimmy Vasser.
Vasser has had a fine weekend. Mistake-free, handsome driving.
Mansell's in trouble again. In trouble again.
It's easy to speculate that this was the consequence of his charge through the field.
He went off a turn, went into the runoff area. He still had his engine going, which is good. He wants to get back in again, but Mansell really gets disgusted with himself when he does make mistakes.
Mario sets himself into position to challenge Fittipaldi. At the same time, Stefan Johansson closes on Jimmy Vasser for 4th place.
Remember that Mario Andretti is 54 years old. Look at him press the attack very near the end of his great career. Here he comes.
There's Mansell as he tries to get past some cars, and he runs off the course again and spins it around, bounces it a little bit off the wall, and now he needs a push to get it going.
Now you can see he's to the point of being too mad. He's too angry, and that's not like Nigel Mansell to do something like that. That extra spin and stuff that he did really wasn't necessary.
Long, frustrating day as now he has open track because he has a long distance to make up.
Nigel, curiously, has never defended a championship. He won the World Championship, but he gave up Formula One and came over here, of course, to win the IndyCar Championship last year. This would be his first defense of a championship.
And this was that situation as Nigel headed in, just locked the brakes.
And it was a good place to pass, and it probably is his favorite, or at least one of his 2 favorite places to pass. Unfortunately, he went down where it's still wet and no cars have been running, and then, right there, he killed the engine. Now, that's not like Nigel Mansell to do that.
You know, in the older days, Bobby, there were a number of drivers that when they won the championship, didn't want the #1. They thought it was bad luck. Gordon Johncock was one of them. Is Mansell a superstitious man?
I don't think so. I think that he's just a good race driver, and I I really have never believed that myself, and I hope he doesn't.
Mario was making the move on Emerson Fittipaldi there. He's coming alongside Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi cuts him off into the chicane. But Mario's right back at him.
Mario had a very poor qualifying run, but he's certainly aggressive now, or at least Emil certainly thinks he is.
Remember that Emerson Fittipaldi won this race under very similar circumstances. When it began to rain right at the end, he slithered through and won the race. He's the master of very tricky and changing conditions.
Right behind Mario, Jimmy Vasser, just a few hundred yards back, being challenged by Stefan Johansson, and Scott Goodyear has pulled up behind Johansson now.
You can watch Mario when he comes out of the turns. They're still a little bit hurting for traction, so they're still slipping and sliding a little bit.
Mario looking for any opportunity he can find. He can sense the prospect of moving up and being in the lead. Boy, wouldn't he like to do that in his final season.
Just watch Emil. He's going from one mirror to the other, trying to figure out where Mario is or where he's going to try a pass on him, because he knows, he can feel that Mario's there all the time.
Mario's morale is just plain high. Ever since Michael got back into IndyCar racing, it's just a father and son situation. He's just happy to have his son racing with him.
Looks like Scott Goodyear lost it just in that last corner. Yep, there he is, sitting against the wall. Maybe not against the wall, but back right up to it.
In the runoff area for sure. That's where it's a little bit slippery right in there. No cars have really been running to dry it out.
Here's Scott Goodyear as he got in trouble just a few seconds ago. He's chasing Johansson.
Come down low to pass. That's where there's no cars running. It's slippery. Here he goes. Look at the right front tire locked up, just sliding in just like he's on ice.
You know what? That's where Mansell just went off.
Absolutely.
It must be very tricky there.
Must be very unpredictable all around this course, but especially there.
What they're trying to do is to pass on the inside. That's the good place to pass out great guys. Unfortunately, nobody's been racing down there.
Well, when Michael Andretti comes around past the start-finish line this time, he will conclude half the distance of the race. So it's an official race when Michael comes across the line this time. Should it be flagged for any reason, it will go into the record books as a completed run. And Michael has clear sailing ahead.
He obviously has put behind him thoughts that he might have any suspension weaknesses in the car because of that contact with the barriers there. He contacted only a collection of soft tires.
Look how fast he's getting through the acid. You'd think he'd be worrying a little bit about the damn track, but he's not. He's full on it.
He described this Renard as a tank. He obviously relies on its strength.
You know, EDS supplies the scoring system for IndyCar as well as in the booth as we take a look at Scott Goodyear's spin once again. And I'll tell you what, in a race as confusing as this, without the EDS system, I don't think we could keep track of it at all.
Oh, we really could. It's been up and down. This was just another replay of Goodyear going off into his deal there in this little runoff area. Here he comes back out on the track now.
So back watching Emerson Fittipaldi, who sits in second, but Mario Andretti continues his challenge, and Mario's son Michael continues his lead. Resort Hotel here right across the street from Surfers. Look at that man-made lagoon. It's so cool. Most of the drivers stay here. Pools are all heated. The lobby of the hotel is wide open, and the river is right there, so you can hop on your Sea-Doo and have a great time. But we're having a time over at the IndyCar circuit, and it's a confusing time at that, as Mario Andretti continues his pursuit of Emerson Fittipaldi. He's fallen back just a little bit. Michael Andretti continues the lead, and it is now an official race. We have gone past the halfway point.
From the high cam view there, you can see how there's still wet spots around the track. It's getting dry in the groove or real drive there, but it's a little bit wet in spots yet.
People thought that perhaps Mansell, who seized the pole with such ease, was positioning himself to run away with the championship. This is a very exciting development. Mansell in trouble. New people to the top of the point scoring chart, running really well.
Nigel Mansell is back in 13th place and not on the same lap with the leader. We'll give you the running order again. Michael Andretti up. Two more cars in trouble. One of them, Adrian Fernandez. The other, that 24 car, is Willie T. Ribbs. So all three cars out of Derek Walker's stable have been involved in contact today now. Robbie Gordon, Willie T. Ribbs, and Mark Smith.
That's Willie there in the red and white car. Fernandez in the car with some green on it.
Fernandez kind of got captured there. When Willie spun, you can see him waving his hands there. When he spun, there really wasn't any place for Fernandez to go. That wasn't his fault in this particular case.
Unfortunately, they got together at the tires, so there shouldn't be any serious damage to those cars. Let's look it over carefully, though. Willie climbed out of his.
Willie conceded that he was learning the track here. This is his first time here, taking it carefully, but he obviously got caught out by it there.
Well, Fernandez looks like he's okay as he comes back up to speed and only creates a local yellow. Now back with the leader who begins to overhaul some slower traffic.
Michael is able to pull away fractionally from Emerson, who's pursuing him just under 2 seconds back. In turn, Emerson is able to pull away from Mario.
Adrian saw Michael coming and moved right over and got out of the way for him. There comes Emo right by. Emo gained a little bit on that.
See, that shows how Adrian is cool, right, Bobby? Because, in other words, he's just been in an incident, but he isn't so ruffled that he doesn't check his mirrors as he's getting back to speed.
Yes, and Sam, you know, his day hasn't been the best as far as luck goes, but he's really done quite a good job today. Of course, I think he shines on this type of track.
He shines on the ovals, too.
Pursuit continues at the front as Mario tries to catch Emo, and everybody tries to catch this man, Michael Andretti.
Michael is using an awful lot of the curves. He's really up over him. In fact, his tire is going to, if he goes any further, he's going to start taking the cones with him.
Well, I'll tell you, if this car lasts the distance, it is proof that this new Reynard car is bulletproof because it's taken a lot of pounding.
What a wonderful circumstance that would be for Adrian Renard and the whole group if they could have a win very first time out of the box.
Well, you know, they have a long record of that. Each kind of racing that they have gotten into through the years, they have, by luck or merit or what a combination, won the first time out. So this is an incredible question of history possibly in the making.
But just so that people know also, Bruce Ashmore, the guy that did the Lolas for many years, is the guy that did the Adrian car. He left Lola and went with Renard. And so that has to help an awful lot, Tim.
Center of focus is now on second place as Mario Andretti is back on the attack.
Emerson Fittipaldi, 47 years old, so two veterans. Both these men have won both Indianapolis and the World Championship.
At the start of the show, we called them the seniors.
I like that.
They were out of earshot when we did that.
I like that part.
You called them the seniors. I'm
no, I think it was your idea.
Right in between their ages, and I'm not sure I buy that.
Another thing to keep in mind when we watch Michael go through the chicanes, you see right there, he was very high close to the cones. I think that Wally Dallenbach has probably told them that they're susceptible to a stop-and-go penalty if they hit the cones.
Another car being reported out of the race now, Davy Jones, driving for A.J. Boyd. Let's give you the rundown again. Michael Andretti leads, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi, then Mario Andretti, then Jim Vassar, then Stefan Johansson in 6th place, Jacques Villeneuve, then Teo Fabi, Mike Croft, Mauricio Gugelmin, Scott Goodyear is 10th. As Adrian Fernandez has trouble again and almost collects Jim Vassar. Look at this.
I think that Adrian has been in the chicane problem so many times now, he just drives right straight across and keeps going.
We'll continue with the 6th place is Jacques Villeneuve, 7th is Teo Fabi, followed by Mike Croft, Mauricio Gugelmin, Scott Goodyear. Nigel Mansell is 11th off of the lead lap. He is the first one who is not on the leader lap. And 12th is Scott Sharp. Adrian Fernandez is 13th. Paul Tracy 14th. Dominic Dobson 15th. Prior to his incident, Willie T. Ribbs was 16th, followed by Allitzer Jr., and then Davy Jones, who has retired from competition. And Jacques Villeneuve gets in trouble alongside of Stefan Johansson.
That was the deal where they got the tires all locked up between each other, and sometimes they do that, and it looks like that they have a magnet holding them together. Just keep pulling the cars together and then apart, together and apart. Now, Jacques is the one that lost that war, but it looked like for a while that both of them were going to end up in there.
Well, this is going to be a very expensive trip for a number of teams. Seen probably more damage in this one race than in almost the entire season last year.
Yes, more incidents I think we've seen in a long time, Paul.
Here we're having another look at the Jacques Villeneuve incident. He is the son, he's Canadian by birth. He is the son of Gilles Villeneuve, the great Canadian driver who went to Formula One and was killed tragically in a practice accident.
Jacques just didn't have enough room right there. He was being squeezed into the wall a little bit too much.
And Adrian Fernandez now has a tire totally off the right rear, and he has to limp around to the pits. His day has gone from great to terrible.
How quickly?
I'll bet right now he thinks it's from bad to terrible. You know, when you bring him in on a flat tire like that, it doesn't do him any good.
Let's see what happened here. Johansson was just going on straight, it seemed, at that point.
Well, Johansson was just squeezed a little bit too much there. He didn't give his partner enough racing room right there, Paul. That's too close. You can't go that fast. You're probably running 180 miles an hour right there, and that's just not enough room to give a guy.
It reminds me of bumper cars.
Finally making his way back into the pits is Adrian Fernandez. He was in 15th prior to coming in. So Mario Andretti is trying to catch Emerson Fittipaldi, and Michael Andretti has led from the green flag. We'll be back with more from Australia after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix, where Michael Andretti is still the leader. He's led right from the green flag on a rather confusing afternoon. Tonight on ABC, it starts with America's Funniest Hour, and then at a special time, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman star in Rain Man, a winner of 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It's the ABC Sunday night movie tonight. Well, Michael Andretti and the Renard chassis is still the leader here. This is the battle on the course. It's a fight for second between a very racy Mario Andretti trying to catch Emerson Fittipaldi. At the start of the show, we talked about some of the stories that exist here today. Let's review some of those now, beginning with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, it looks as if maybe Bobby Rahal was prophetic with his headline. Nigel Mansell certainly has proved that he is not God, because he's running back in 10th place, 1 lap behind the leaders after a terrible afternoon. Team Penske, we talked about it. We questioned whether the super team had its act together. Mechanical malfunctions on first Al Unser Jr.'s car, and then just a couple of laps ago, Paul Tracy's engine went dead after an engine fire. So 2 of the 3, despite the fact that Emerson Fittipaldi is still in the hunt, they're out. Let's update you as well on the condition of the brand new Honda engine. Bobby Rahal out very early after a shunt, and then it fell to the shoulders of the man that tested for so long, that being Mike Groff, his teammate, to try and bring home that Honda engine and make at least 1 race in the record books. Let's check in with Gary Gerald for some more stories.
Yes, and in the Chip Ganassi pits, where Michael Andretti is having almost a storybook day in his return to IndyCar racing. We talked about his great determination, how he nearly lost total control of his race car in qualifying yesterday, launched it off one of the chicanes, but that Renard chassis is held up. And right now, we're expecting him momentarily. The crew is over the wall on pit road for a final pit stop. And keep in mind, Chip Ganassi has never won an IndyCar race. Paul?
So Mansell comes back into the fight after his pit stop. Lights the tires down into the first corner. They're still cold. Here comes Michael Andretti. He was displaying some smoke at the back of the car, and he is slow on the circuit now. Is it over for Michael, or is he just rolling for pit road? Let's see, as Gary's there.
Indeed. Emerson jumps on top of the car. They make the changes. They top him off with fuel here in the lengthening shadows. You can see the flame ripping out of the exhaust at the left rear. Andretti looking for a storybook finish ending now. He's poised. He's ready. Waiting for the jacks to come down. There they are. He's on his way. Not fast. Nearly 18 seconds, Paul.
And again, it looked like a small display of blue smoke under the back of the car as he pulled away. So we'll keep an eye on Michael Andretti. There is Mike Groff, the lone hope of the Honda contingent, and you can see he's been in contact with a couple of cars on the circuit throughout the afternoon.
Well, most of them have hit somebody sometime or another during the afternoon. Now, Michael's out on cold tires. He's a little bit slow in the very beginning. That's where you see Groff run up on him like he is.
Looking out the back end of Michael's car, back at Mike Groff.
As we start to see that smoke out of Michael Andretti's car, just remember back to Indianapolis a couple of years ago. Just remember how often Michael Andretti has come near the end of a race only to break down right at the end.
And keep track. Did you notice noticed when he came into the pits, it's so dark here now that besides being able to see the flame of the exhaust, when they pulled the wheel off of the left rear, you could see the sparkle of all the little carbons as they fell off and hit the hot brake calipers and the brake disc.
As we look out the back of Michael's car, also we look at Mike Groff, who's got a left front wing missing. So some of the confrontations he's had, he lost a wing along the way. Now that doesn't make him go any faster either.
Emerson Fittipaldi comes in as the leader of the race, makes his stop. Here's Jack.
And Nigel Bennett timed Michael Andretti's stop and showed the crew what they had to beat. Team Penske goes to work as the shadows are very, very long now, and they've changed all 4 tires. The longest part of this stop is to take on a full load of fuel. They've completed that and dropped the air tags. He lights the tires up and he's away.
Remember, Emerson Fittipaldi was second in the race last year, first in the race in 1992. He has been a formidable force here at Surfers Paradise.
Now again, when the guys leave the pits like that, Tim and Paul, so everybody knows the tires are very cold. That's the reason they lock them up going into the first turn. Not to make them hot, but just because they don't have any traction.
And don't be deceived here. The television cameras are doing a very good job at letting you see these cars. It is in reality much darker than it appears on your television screen right now. What you can use to reference that is the fact that you can see the exhaust during all of the gear changes now, and the glowing on the brake discs, and the fact that when the running lights are on, look at how dark it is from this shot. Here comes Fittipaldi. He makes his challenge, can't get it done.
Michael was going right back by Emo. Emo's tires a little too cold. Michael's got his tires all warmed up.
The third car in that sequence, Scott Goodyear, not in contention for one of the lead places. Running 2 laps down, but riding with him here. Chance to unlap himself.
Emo doesn't seem to be as fast after his pit stop, Sam, as he was before. You see Scott Goodyear all over Emo. And it just hasn't been that way before the pit stop. So maybe that Emo got a bad set of tires. I would guess that's it, because Michael blew right by him pretty easy.
Emo still being challenged by Scott Goodyear, who runs 11th place, 2 laps off the lead. Look at Michael's separation now.
And the white car behind Scott Goodyear.
Remember, Emo came out of the pit. He had a lot faster pit stop than what Michael did. He came out ahead, leading the race. Michael caught him right away and went right back by him. So I'm guessing it's bad tires on Emo's part. Right there, Emo, the number 2.
So Emerson Fittipaldi has his work cut out if he is going to catch Michael Andretti. And young Michael is having a spectacular day as he comes back to the IndyCars. Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. Check out the street lights as they go past them. They're turned on here. And now the chief steward of the series, Wally Dallenbach, is concerned about the falling darkness. In fact, he has asked the crews to start radioing their drivers and find out what they think about the visibility. Chuck Sprague on the radio there to the Penske cars. And they're trying to decide whether or not this race can go the full distance. It's 48 laps complete. It's a 65-lap scheduled race.
If I was Emerson Fittipaldi, I would decide that it wasn't dark until I had passed this man, Michael Andretti. Then I decided it was too dark.
No, but you know, when we look at the crews, I just started to mention how nice the TV cameras make it look. This is a little bit more what it really looks like. Very dark. But when you look at the TV cameras in the pits, it looks like it's beautiful sunshine and daylight.
Terrific beating going over these chicanes physically as a driver. You can see Michael actually scrunches down a little bit in the cockpit to brace for the shock.
From my point of view, it's becoming so dark here that whenever a flash goes off in the grandstand, it's very bright. You almost wonder if that eventually isn't a problem for a driver.
And it's also...
Jack Arute with an update on Emerson.
Well, Paul, you saw the IndyCar officials asking Chuck Sprague, the team leader for Emerson Fittipaldi, to query his driver as to the conditions of light outside. Chuck returned and said, Emerson's a little bit busy right now trying to chase down Michael Andretti. Did not bother to ask Emerson the conditions, but according to him, he says, I think it's getting awfully dark. What about you, Gary Gerould?
Well, it's interesting. Chip Ganassi just got off the scoring stand. He jogged down and had a quick conversation with Roger Penske. Of course, Ganassi wants to see this race stopped immediately. It would be his first ever IndyCar win. Jokingly, that Penske area camp down there sent him back on the way and said, get out of here, pal. So this is one group here in the Ganassi pit. They can't wait to see a checkered flag.
The distance between the leader here, Michael Andretti, and Emerson Fittipaldi is just under 4 seconds right now. It's a decisive distance.
You know, as far as these guys are concerned, they're very, very sharp, good athletes. They can go for a long time. There's first and second right there. You can see anything that looks like it has to do with light or fire right now, because it really, honestly, is getting dark in spite of what the television looks like.
Yeah, these pictures can be very deceptive because the cameras are so good and so sensitive. This is 15 laps to the end of the race right now, but that may be too far.
This is a track where you really have to sense how far you are from the turn. There are several places where you're going very fast and have to brake very accurately for tight turns. That loss of depth perception that goes with the coming darkness is really tough.
You know what's really pretty right now, Sam, is when I look down into turn 1 and down the straightaway, and it's so dark I can see the fire coming out from under the cars from rubbing the track. Now the camera again doesn't pick that up. Not that the camera's bad.
It's not only that. Look at the rear shot of Fittipaldi. You can see the glow of the metal in his exhaust pipe. And a few seconds ago, you could see the discs glowing on Scott Goodyear's car.
You'd think we were at Sebring or Le Mans, a kind of long-distance race where you see this sight as they go into the darkness.
And Michael is not letting up. He's still hitting the groove just perfect, hitting every spot on the track that he wants.
And he's increased his lead to just over 4 seconds.
Michael Andretti leads this race. His owner, there he is, Chip Ganassi. Is he on his way to his first win as an IndyCar owner? Is the Renard on its way to a first win in its first race?
Is Michael Andretti on his way to vindicating himself after his terrible Formula One season? What a victory this would be. Therapy indeed.
Well, you know, one thing that, if you want to do the comparison to Formula One, which is very difficult, is he's had substantial testing in this Indy car, and he had virtually no testing in the Formula One car.
He got this car back in November, although it's a new car, new to the series. Actually, of all the 94 cars, this team has had their car the longest. So in a way, it's the oldest, most proven new car. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, look there in the side shots. Look at the glow in the wheels.
Wow. That's from the brakes. Look at the exhaust. You can see the glow of the brake disc behind the wheels when it goes by, Paul.
Maybe we ought to run these things in the dark. Look at all the street lights on all over Surfers Paradise.
Listen, this is a kind of beauty that we rarely see in racing. We should really savor it.
Let's go pit side, the Ganassi pits. Here's Gary.
Well, we talked about Chip Ganassi lobbying to get this race stopped, and you're now angry about this.
This is a dangerous situation. The lights are on along the pits here. The lights are on. The lights are on at the Marriott Hotel. This is a dangerous situation. It's got to be stopped. I'm going to see CART.
What's going to be the emotion if they stop it and you get your first win right now?
That's not what I'm thinking about. Safety right now.
All right, Chip. Thank you.
Well, he's playing politics.
Only thing is the officials aren't looking at the television. They're busy running the race, Sam.
Well, now they've made a decision. We are at lap 51. IndyCar is now reporting to its teams. Roger Penske's no doubt getting the message now that in 4 laps, they will flag this race to completion at 55 laps. So Michael Andretti may be on his way to victory, and Chip Ganassi won't have to go argue with the officials. But Emerson Fittipaldi is now closing down on Michael. Darkness settles now on Surfers Paradise at the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. Michael Andretti is the leader with 2 laps to go. They're going to call this race 10 laps early because of darkness. Street lights are turned on all over Surfers Paradise. Emerson Fittipaldi is trying to close in these last 2 laps. He's closed a full second in the last lap.
Remember last year how Nigel Mansell came out of Formula One and won his first IndyCar race? This is a kind of history repeating itself. Michael coming from Formula One, driving a car that has never been in an IndyCar race before and apparently headed for victory. A kind of storybooks race here in Surfers Paradise.
You know, Paul, there's first and second place right there. There's Michael going by right there, and Emma in the red-white car right behind him. You know, from the driver's standpoint, I really think the officials have gone a little too far on this. When it gets dark, it's too dark. When it becomes unsafe, it's unsafe. And I think that they should have called her about 5-8 laps back.
Michael Andretti working the 53rd lap. Teo Fabi just in front of him. Let's give you the rundown. It's Michael, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi. There's Emo. Then Mario Andretti in third. Jimmy Vasser is fourth. Stefan Johansson is fifth. Sixth, Mauricio Guzulmi. Teo Fabi, who you see in your picture from time to time, is seventh. In eighth is Mike Groff, followed by Nigel Mansell and Scott Sharp in 10th.
Don't underestimate the trickiness of this situation, because Teo Fabi has been pushing hard, and Michael Andretti, in order to defend his lead against the pursuing Emerson Fittipaldi, is going to have to pass him in these very, very difficult conditions.
Michael Andretti now maneuvering for the last lap.
Emma's right behind. He's really closing up
He's
fast.
really closing up. This is very dramatic. Bobby probably...
Teo Fabi quickly becoming a faster on the last lap of this race. Michael needs to get past him. He gets past him, but it held him up so long that Emerson Fittipaldi is right there. Will he get past Fabi? Fabi continues to run his line. Emo looks for room.
Fabi all of a sudden becomes a big thing in this race when he gets in between those two.
Have the drivers even seen in this bad condition the white flag? There you see Fabi dropping back. Emerson, a clear shot now at Michael Andretti.
It will be a desperate effort for Fittipaldi. Mario Andretti runs in third place right now. So both the Andrettis could end up on the podium. But Teo Fabi's doing everything he can to catch the leader of the race.
Fittipaldi second last year, first the year before. Michael Andretti out of luck here twice in a row in previous races.
Emma's trying as hard as he could ever try. He can't see too good.
Into the final corners now. Michael Andretti, the Renard, the Ganassi Racing Team. So much history being made here in this run, the first race of the PPG IndyCar World Series. The final corner. Now the checkered flag goes to Michael Andretti, who takes the victory here in Surfers Paradise, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi. And you can see the flash from all the different cameras throughout the stands here as they record Mario Andretti coming across the line in third, Jimmy Vasser fourth, and Stefan Johansson comes across in fifth. Chip Ganassi and Michael Andretti have done it in the setting sun here at Surfers Paradise, with its owner Chip Ganassi and Jack Arutz there.
Well, it's an extremely happy Chip Ganassi along with Michael Andretti. Hey, welcome back to IndyCar racing.
It's great to be back. What can I say? I mean, it's just fantastic. I'll tell you, it's prayed hard for this, and it came through.
When you came down here to Victory Lane, you were just banging on the steering wheel. Has there been a more emotional win in your career?
Probably not. I'll tell you, this is fantastic. I just want to say hi to Sandy, and I'll see you tomorrow night. It's just, this is just such a great thing, you know, after everything we've been through, and the guys did a great job. We had to change motors between the warm-up and the race, and the car just never missed a beat. It was great.
Chip Ganassi, the end of a long odyssey that started a long, long time ago. Your feelings?
Jack, my feelings are this. I want to thank my father for hanging in there with me, and there's a big group of people in Minneapolis that I owe a big thanks for hanging in there with me also. And thanks to all of you, and you all know who you are. Thanks.
So a very special congratulations to Michael Andretti, his first race back to the IndyCars, and he takes the win. His father joins him on the podium. Good run, too, for Jimmy Vasser. As we take a look down through the remainder of the field, Nigel Mansell, well, he's going to have some work to do if he's going to get back into the championship fight. We give you the entire rundown of the race here at Surfers, the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. And finishing in second place, Emerson Fittipaldi, who's with Gary Gerould.
How tough in the darkness, Emma? Was it dangerous at all?
No, I don't think it was dangerous, Gary, but the last 3 laps was really get bad visibility, and I was just aiming for Michael's back, and I was trying to catch Michael. I mean, I was flying over the curves. It was a great race. Mike did a beautiful job.
And now you've got to contend with Michael Andretti and Nigel Mansell and a whole field of others the rest of this season. It's going to be interesting.
Well, I think IndyCar race never been as good as now. I think we're going to to see a beautiful season ahead of us. I mean, very excited for the drivers, for the spectators.
Terrific job, Emil. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
And here are the PPG points as Michael Andretti comes back as the points leader, his father in third. His father's got to be really proud.
Mario, how does it feel to be on the podium with Michael?
There's nothing better. I mean, I'll tell you, that's what really keeps me around. Every time we do that, it gives me 10 years.
Congratulations.
Very, very happy. Thank you.
Well, coming up Sunday, April 17th, IndyCar Racing returns to the streets of the United States. Defending champion Paul Tracy and the sport's best head to California for the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. That's April 17th. Right here on ABC Sports. Well, the first race has been run. There were many questions to be answered, and many of them have already been answered. Can the Renard stay competitive? Michael Andretti proved that it can be. I'm Paul Page for Sam Posey, Bobby Unser, Jack Arute, and Gary Gerald. So long from Australia.
The Valvoline Australian Grand Prix has been brought to you by the Valvoline Performance Team. Toyota, makers of the exciting all-new Celica. Watch out, it's here. Cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. And your local Yamaha dealer who invite you to see their exciting line of motorcycles, ATVs, and snowmobiles. Coming up next, ABC Sports heads to Key Biscayne, Florida. The #1 player in the world, Pete Sampras, will try to become the first man in the history of this event to successfully defend his crown. He meets Andre Agassi in the men's final of the Lifton Championships next here on ABC. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.